Cynthia Cox, and this is the Nonprofit Minute. I'm joined again today by Eve Todd, my audit manager of Cox & Associates, and we want to give you some good solutions for those lack of segregation of duty issues that we talked about in our last video. Okay, Eve, what do you think is one of the most important things that we need to have our clients do when it comes to the cash disbursements?
I think having somebody else review the bank reconciliation at a minimum, if they could review it or if somebody else could do the bank reconciliation, it would give the company a great measure of assurance that everything was being done properly.
Well, who do you think can do that? Because we're really talking about clients that have one bookkeeper, or at the very most they might have two people working in the accounting office, and they're both very active in writing those checks and authorizing those cash disbursements. So who do they go to?
You might look outside the accounting office and look to your board. Perhaps a board member, the treasurer, could be responsible for reviewing those bank reconciliations, or even a volunteer.
You may even find that you have a CPA on your board or a volunteer that would be willing to handle the task and be quite qualified to do so.
One of the things that we found recently is you might solicit the help of your bank. The banks today can give you a variety of information at your fingertips. You could receive bank notices daily in your email, just a little snapshot of the activity in the account. If you should find a withdrawal that you don't recognize, that would be a clue right there that there might be something wrong, or just to get involved and ask a question or two.
We find that the banks are great resources in protecting yourself against fraud. They want to make sure that your account is just that, your account, and nobody else has access to it. So we've really spent some time recently talking to the operations department of the bank and getting some of these solutions so that we can come back and recommend good things to you, like Eve was just suggesting. If I were to really get on my soapbox and I would say there's something I just really want you to do, it is to protect the money from the donor's hand to when it gets into the bank. Because you don't know how much money you don't have unless you've counted it, recorded that count somewhere, and somebody can actually go back and find what that count was. So the most important controls are those controls between where that money leaves, like I said, the donor's hand, until when it's processed, put into your account. Then it's really easy to find out if there has been a misappropriation of funds. So, Eve, what have we found, things that along those lines that we tell our clients they need to do?
One of the most important things is to always have two unrelated counters for the deposits, whether that be ushers on Sunday afternoon or whether it be a Monday morning when you have another volunteer along, maybe the bookkeeper, maybe somebody else, maybe the secretary, but two unrelated people should always be responsible for counting that cash. And that's not one person observing and one person counting, or one person in the room and one person counting. That's two people counting the money together. And we would also recommend that they use a count sheet, and that would detail the denominations of money and detail of all the checks so that you have that record. Those people will sign that, and then you've got an initial record of what money should be deposited in the bank.
So we've got good accountability with our deposits. We have unrelated people, so that means there's more than just the bookkeeper involved. But what about money that's received in the middle of the week? What do you think we ought to do with that? Because we talked about the school in the last segment where somebody came in and paid for a whole year's tuition. That probably wasn't on a Monday. It probably didn't have a count team involved, but there should still be something done about that, right?
Absolutely. So we can still have two people, whether, again, it could be a secretary and a receptionist or the bookkeeper as well, but that client should be receipted, and the money should be counted by two individuals.
So what I suggested for that school was that the person who handled the receiving end grab the person who handles the checks, so the accounts payable clerk, They count that money together, and then they immediately get it in a drop safe or some form of protected environment, not a locked file cabinet. I am Cynthia Cox with Cox & Associates, and we look forward to serving you.